Now I'm recording. Here we go. Clap sync. On today's episode, we're checking out the JHS Overdrive Preamp. Let's get into it. All right, so the JHS Overdrive Preamp started as a DoD 250 preamp. This is a pedal that has been cloned by so many companies over the years. It's known for its kind of simple user interface. It has two knobs, gain and volume. Occasionally people will add an EQ section, change the clipping section with a switch so you can get different clipping diodes, things like that. Let's look at the schematic so we can see what's going on. Okay, so here's the schematic. We have our input, which is where we plug the guitar into. Then the signal runs into this triangle, which is called the op amp. Simply put, the op amp is the main gain stage, the only gain stage of this pedal. It's the heart of the pedal. This op amp loudness is controlled by this volume knob right here. So after your signal leaves the op amp, it's going to go hit these clipping diodes. This is what we call hard clipping. If there's distortion happening in the op amp, it's generally called soft clipping. And then any diodes that go to ground, that's what this little line is here. The diodes are hard clipping. And this is really the distortion characteristics, right? So the preamp here is driving signal to these clipping diodes. And that's where we get that intensity, that hard clipping from. This little equals looking sign here is a capacitor, which means it's gently rolling off some of the high end to help deal with some of the harshness that comes from the clipping stage. And then finally, we have the volume control, and that's as simple as it is. It's just the volume control. So let's get into seeing what this pedal can do. All right, here we are. Pedal's hooked up, white noise is running, headphones on, so I can hear and see the changes that are being made. We see the level here. White noise is hitting around -23. So we're going to start with all the knobs all the way down. And here we go. Okay, obviously we're not going to hear anything. Level's all the way down. So gain's all the way down. I'm going to start turning up the level. Okay, we see it before we hear it. Can't hear that quiet. So let's turn it up, turn it up. Okay, that's a pretty good amount of boost. I'm going to turn it off to see where we were again. Okay, so with the pedal off, we're at -23. When we turn it on, we're at -18. So that's a pretty good amount of boost. That's about 6 to 7 dB of boost. And we can kind of see in this frequency right here that there's a little bit of top end reduction that's happening. We see how it flattens out when the white noise flattens out. So which is fine. I mean, this chart is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. A guitar is typically between 80 hertz and 8 kilohertz. I mean, that's an approximation, but pretty close. So now let's turn the gain up and see what happens. See it getting louder. So when we get to maximum gain, we actually see kind of an increase in the mids. The highs are ducked a little louder, and that's where we talked about on the schematic, that capacitor that's right after those clipping diodes, as more signal hits it, more high end, it rolls that off a little more. So let's back the level down, the gain down. I mean, that's pretty much it. Okay, let's get into the switch here. We have silicon and number 75. Silicon diodes are what the modern version of the pedal is running. And then number 75, Josh Scott, JHS, discovered this rare prototype almost that had a different combination of clipping diodes in it. So let's see what that does to the sound. Here's silicon. And then, okay, so that's a good bit quieter. Let's turn the level back up. Let's see if there's any difference in the EQ here. So I would say a little more high end is coming through. And I would say it's less compressed sound. So this combination of diodes will give you roughly the same EQ response, but it's probably going to sound a little more compressed, and you'll need to make up for it with the volume knob. You probably won't be running your guitar with the level all the way up, but that's up to you. All right, let's go back to 0. Let's take the gain back to 0. So once again, here is bypassed pedal. Here's with it on. So again, a little high roll off. And this is going to be great for those of you with maybe a brighter amp. So it's not going to add too much high end to the distortion characteristics when you kick it on. And even as the gain increases, we see the mid-range presence gets boosted, and the high end doesn't increase at all, which is great. If we hit silicon, yep. I feel like I'm hearing more mid-range coming through. More high mids. And the number 75 is maybe a little more flat. So let's find out. Let's get into a playing demo. Okay, so here's the in real life demo. We're using the 2 Notes Genome in their Gemini amp, which is some sort of Fender Blackface. Here's the clean tone. All right, and here's the Overdrive Preamp, level at 10, gain at 1. Okay, I'm going to increase the gain to noon. It's a lot more compressed. Okay, now we'll take the gain all the way up. Cool. Now we'll flip the switch. It's going to get louder. There's a lot more mid-range to it. Okay, there we go. JHS Overdrive Preamp. Thank you, Mr. Scott, for bringing another rendition of this classic into this world. I think this one definitely has its place. Its uniqueness is found in the history in this little toggle switch here. I think you'll find with the right amp that it adds a lot of versatility. So, what did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? I'd love it if you left a comment down below. Also, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Today's episode, we're checking out the JHS Overdrive Preamp. It's upside down.